ready. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Why are you clapping? Why are you applauding? Who are these people that are applauding a new tax in the city of New York as if we weren't taxed enough already? Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about how it is congestion pricing day, the day that New York State and New York City team up to screw over average everyday New Yorkers, and not just the ones that drive in the city of New York, which obviously are a small percentage of the population of commuters to the city of New York, but of all the small businesses and all the people who have to pay for goods that are now going to be marked up dramatically due to this new taxation scheme. Now we're going to get into this. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to explain to you why all the promises related to congestion pricing, except for one, are a complete and utter failure and a total lie. But before I do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Starting today, the congestion pricing is going into effect. $9 each day that you pass 60th Street. And while I disagree with it for many reasons, for me in particular, it really hits home because I live right here on 61st Street in this building, and my car is right there, parked in front of my building. And if I want to turn around to go uptown to visit my kids who live on 79th Street, I have to pay $9 to go around the block because this is a one-way street, and that's a one-way street, and that's a one-way street, and there's no way for me to get uptown without going around the block and paying $9. And I think something has to be sorted out for Manhattan residences.
So real quick, right off the top, just so all of you out there in the audience know, I do not live in Lower Manhattan. I don't have to travel to Lower Manhattan all that often. So the fact of the matter is, this doesn't actually personally affect me in the way that it affects many a New Yorker and many a New Jerseyan who have to commute and pay this cost to commute by vehicle. However, I do want to point out a couple of different things. It is in fact largely true that the majority of people that commute to the city of New York do so through public transportation. In fact, there's all these different breakdowns, all these different surveys that say that 15% of the people who come in are driving and 85% of the people who come in are taking some form of public transportation. So the majority of people are not going to be directly impacted by the toll related to congestion pricing. However, that is only a small portion of the story.
If you're planning to drive into what MTA says is the most congested district in the country between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. Monday through Friday and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends, those are going to be peak hour prices. So that means $9 for passenger cars, $14.40 for small trucks and buses, and large trucks and tour buses, that's going to be $21.60. Many people are not happy about the controversial tolling program.
Because it turns out when you look into the congestion pricing scheme, one of the things that you realize is that this is actually going to impact a lot more New Yorkers than you can imagine, due to the fact that trucks are going to be tolled repeatedly throughout the course of the day at a higher rate than your regular ordinary passenger car, that are only going to be tolled the $9 right now once per day. And again, even though there are many drivers who can't get around this because they live too far away from public transportation in order to commute to Lower Manhattan for work, the fact is this is still a smaller percentage of the population than is presented.
I'm a resident, but I kind of want to move. And so it's affecting that decision, whether I want to keep the car.
Since I drive in and out of the city, it's not ideal for me.
I'm very upset about it. It's a problem, big problem.
Now, outside of those peak hours, there's going to be a 75% reduction in the tolls for drivers. And of course, like we said, there are exemptions and there are discounts. So for drivers who make less than $50,000 a year, they can apply for a discount plan to get a 50% discount after the first 10 trips in 1 month. Now, there are also exemptions for people with disabilities who cannot take public transportation and for emergency vehicles, buses, and government-owned vehicles. Now, again, that deadline to get those discounts from the beginning have already passed.
Now, look, when I give you the $9 amount, it is important for you guys to understand that the $9 amount is actually the Easy Pass amount, is actually more money if you're paying tolls by mail if you don't sign up for the Easy Pass. And again, this is going to have devastating impacts on a lot of New Yorkers, but let us first talk about the positives of this particular program, because in reality, this will in fact reduce congestion in lower Manhattan, and this is a positive for those who live in lower Manhattan because obviously there's air pollution associated with vehicles, and again, there are downsides to congestion. So those benefits are in fact real. However, those are the only real benefits because we are told time and time again that this is absolutely necessary and needed in order to support the MTA, which runs the subways and the buses, the public transportation throughout the city of New York, and in reality, those promises are not going to come to fruition. And the chief reason why it's not going to produce the revenue for the MTA that they want is because it is going to be effective in reducing the number of cars on the road, so all their different projections about raising $1 billion and all of that are going to be wrong. They're going to fall dramatically short. But in addition to that, the overall tax base in the city of New York is going to be devastated. So we look at the map of the costs and we see passengers in small vehicles, sedans, SUVs, and pickup trucks will be charged $9 on peak and $2.25 off peak. Now, by the way, these tolls will go up. The original amount desired for congestion pricing was actually $15 on peak, so expect that to rise in the future. Then we have for motorcycles, $4.50 on peak and $1.05 off peak, and trucks and buses will be charged $14.40 to $21.60 on peak and $3.60 to $5.40, again depending on the charge. Now, by contrast, you have green and yellow taxis paying 75 cents per trip, and app-based vehicle for hire systems like Uber, who lobbied heavily for this, will pay $1.50 per trip. Now, like I said earlier on in this video, this will actually be effective to some degree in reducing congestion, and of course the tolls are only going to go up because tolls only ever go up, and this will reduce congestion even further. So those benefits specifically related to reducing congestion are going to be real. However, when you end up reducing the amount of people in lower Manhattan, you reduce the amount of shoppers in those areas, and you end up taxing trucks that bring in goods to the businesses in those areas, what you're actually going to see is less foot traffic, so less revenue for those businesses. You're going to see higher prices, which is going to turn more people away, cause more people to order from delivery services like Amazon, and ultimately that is going to end up leading to a decimation of the tax base because in reality, you cannot get blood from a stone. New Yorkers already pay income tax, and not just a state income tax, but a city income tax. They already pay a sales tax, and not just a state sales tax, but a city sales tax. They already pay tolls, they already pay higher gas taxes, and all these different other various taxes that they have to cover for the city of New York. So in reality, all you're doing is taxing one area at the detriment of tax revenue in other areas, and you're going to see a compensatory drop, probably a greater drop in the terms of the tax base for the businesses in and around this area because people are not going to drive in there in order to avoid the toll, which means they're not going to visit various businesses to certain degrees, which means you're going to have a reduction in those taxes. And by the way, the MTA already gets a cut of all these different various taxes from the city of New York. So in reality, I don't expect their overall operating revenue to go up by all that much, if not at all. In fact, it would not be surprising if we saw the MTA's revenue go down. In addition to that, I will also point out that in the lead up to this congestion pricing scheme, New York has been doing a bunch of different things to make the problem worse in order to get people more on board with the program. If you look at images of different streets of New York City, what you'll find out is that many a 4-lane or 5-lane road in Manhattan have been reduced down to as little as 1 lane in order to add walking paths, despite the fact that there's a sidewalk, and bike paths across the city of New York. And I just want to say, because people really need to understand this, that people who ride bicycles are human garbage. Get out of the road, get out of my way when I'm driving. You deserve all of the pain that is inflicted by the car accidents against you, again, except for certain circumstances where you're riding a bike, and I'm okay in those circumstances. But in reality, when I used to ride a bicycle as a child, I was told not to ride my bicycle in the street because it was dangerous, and for whatever reason, reason, these bicycle morons, these bicycle crazy people run red lights, they get in my way, they block traffic, and I hate them. And I hate their families, and I hate everything about them. I hate the city bike reservoirs that take up parking spaces, and I wish doom to all of you and all of your family. Do not put a single city bike docking station in a free parking spot in the city of Manhattan ever again. I never want to see that stuff. I don't like seeing it in outer boroughs. Get rid of those city bike docking stations, and if you're gonna put them in where there's metered parking, because you know what? Metered parking sucks already in the city of Manhattan, or in the borough of Manhattan in the city of New York, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. Bicycles do not solve anything. If you ride a bike, you're a bad person, and I hate everything about you. But one of the other things that I absolutely can't stand is all these accounts that suddenly have emerged on social media that are praising the program. Now, of course, we have the activist class that are holding up signs about how happy they are. Those are the idiots that were congratulating the unveiling of the stupid ass sign that says the tolls will be charged to everyday people. And these people I can't stand even more than any people probably on planet Earth. I mean, just look at them. They look exactly like how you expect the activist class a-holes to look that are going to be supportive of a new type of taxation against their fellow New Yorkers or against New Jerseyans in order to pay for their supposed wish list of things. But the fact of the matter is, nothing that is promised, this whole map of MTA projects that are going to be supported supposedly by this congestion pricing tax, are going to come to fruition. And the reason why is because if you decided to give the MTA in the city of New York $10 trillion tomorrow, they would be broke by the end of the week and talking about how they need new tax money in order to fix the transit system, because guess what? They always incinerate the money. Throughout my whole life, they've raised tolls on bridges, they've raised tolls in tunnels in order to cover the MTA. They've been promised all these different various new revenue streams in order to fix our failing transit system, and guess what? They never do it. It never improves. The regular ordinary maintenance on our 100-year-old signaling system never gets done. It never gets replaced. We've seen videos, and I've talked about it on this channel before, where people criticize a cop for flashing a flashlight in a tunnel as civilians lifted up somebody off the track, because people were like, why is that cop not helping those civilians lift people off the track? And the reason why that's actually occurring is because the way that you stop a train in the city of New York is not through any sophisticated system, it's through light systems. So you have to signal with a flashlight, again, a 100-year-old signaling system, in order to stop the train from clobbering people, from killing people, and we still don't know where the hell the trains are on the tracks through any kind of electronic means, because this stuff never gets updated. By contrast, what ends up happening is that they incinerate money on these stations. They're delayed for decades, sometimes for a whole century, and again, even when they do start to open, they're wholly incomplete. Let me tell you about the 2nd Avenue line. This was actually meant to replace the High Line. Now, for those of you who've seen Spider-Man 2 and seen the scene where he stops a train that is above ground in the city of New York, that very epic scene, I just want you guys to understand that that train line, that above ground train in the borough of Manhattan, doesn't exist, and it hasn't existed since something like 1912. So in the 1920s, the city of New York put together a new plan to do an underground subway in order to replace that station. Guess what? That station is still not complete to this day. In fact, only 3 stops have been opened in the 100+ years since that project was proposed, and those 3 stops have a lower ridership because guess what? When you have 100 years of not having train service over there, people figure out their own way around that problem not existing. That means that people have been born, lived, had children, had grandchildren, and died, and that project is still not complete. And it also ballooned, of course, to ridiculous costs, but whatever, that's just standard and normal. When they decided to rebuild the World Trade Center station, you know, the station that was destroyed on September 11th, that train station should have been done relatively quickly, because if you think about it, there was just debris in the train station. But guess what? It took 17 years for that station to be built, and it cost over $4 billion. $4 billion for one train station. And by the way, they dug a tunnel to connect it to some other trains and whatnot, whatnot, and that tunnel was only 1.5 miles long, and it cost $4 billion, over double the budget. Why did it cost so much? Because they incinerated your money. They hired a Spanish architect, and by the way, I've been to Spain. I like their Spanish architects and whatnot, and they did all this different marble and whale bones looking stuff across the station in order to make it so beautiful, all while the transit system was completely falling apart. And by the way, this is the same station that connects to that Westfield Mall, the mall that they have to sue the mall owners in order to stay there because they want to leave due to the ridiculous crime. So all the revenue that they were promised from the mall is also not in existence. But remember, this is a station that went over $2 billion in budget. The estimated revenue that they're supposed to get from congestion pricing is around $1 billion a year. That is supposedly going to solve the problems in the transit system because that's going to make them eligible for federal grants. Well, they had that money, they blew it again on this excessive architecture. And this is just one station. The MTA is full of boondoggle projects like this that are across the city, and we're supposed to accept this reality that this is something that is going to be okay and it's going to solve all the problems. On top of that, in addition to the fact that they've been reducing the lanes on the roads across the borough of Manhattan, specifically below 60th Street, in order to maximize congestion, in order to artificially boost support for congestion pricing, they've also been allowing fare evasion to run roughshod over the system. So something like almost $1 billion or over $500 million in fare evasion occurs in the city of New York each and every year, and this money supposedly is enough to get us that stupid ass grant in order to fix the subways, in order to promise all these projects, but they're not enforcing the law against those people. Now, I know some people that are just addicted to hating cars. They hate America, they hate freedom, because make no mistake about it, cars are amazing, cars are freedom, cars are the United States of America. Shut your stupid face and take a bike yourself. Get in a bicycle on your own if you don't like America, if you don't like freedom, if you're a dirty, filthy, disgusting communist. But they want to get rid of cars, and they say cars should pay the cost of driving on the roads. By the way, cars already pay those costs. They already pay for tolls on the bridges. They already pay for tolls in the tunnels. They already pay a gas tax, not just a federal gas tax for the federal highway system, but they also pay a gas tax at the state and local level here in the city of New York. But you know who doesn't pay the cost of the services that they're using? The people who ride the train, the people who ride the freaking buses that are run by the MTA. None of these routes are profitable. None of these routes are operatable based on the fare. So how about we have a new suggestion? You want the cars to pay for the costs associated with the cars? Totally fine. But you who are riding the subway, you who want to take a bus, you who think bicycles are awesome and we need to ruin our roads with bike paths, you pay the cost of it. You have the increased fare. But the thing is, every time they increase the fare a couple of cents, these same people freak the hell out. And by the way, make no mistake about it, mark my words, that after they decide that they're broke in like 10 days, even with the congestion pricing, they're also going to raise the cost of the subway. They're also going to raise the cost of the buses, all while telling you that, oh, there's nothing we can do. And also we're going to cut back services. But think about these amazing projects. Think about how we're going to blow all your money on all these different various boondoggles and still never do the maintenance. I mean, one of the craziest things that occurred in the recent MTA versus the City of New York transit negotiation is that they actually had to put in the contract that New York City can hire an outside firm to clean the subway. Now you might say, Sean, no big deal. Obviously you need to clean the subway, and I 100% agree with you guys. You definitely need to clean the subway. But the thing is, we're already paying MTA workers to clean the subway. And in fact, they got a pay increase in that contract negotiation, despite the fact that they never clean the subway. So we're paying them more to clean the subway, which they're not doing, but also we're reserving the right to hire an outside firm at least once over the course of a couple of years to do their job. So basically we're paying for it twice. This is the mass transit system in the city of New York. This is who we're trying to save. We shouldn't give them another dime. We shouldn't give them another penny. We need to starve the beast, tear it down, fire everyone, and then rehire those who are essential. One of the things that I learned about the New York City MTA is that we actually hire 4 times as many employees as France's subway system to do the same exact job. And the thing is, France is heavily unionized. They get great benefits, all that stuff that goes on over there. All those inefficiencies due to the fact that they have all their programs pale in comparison to to what we do for the MTA in the city of New York, and the system is still trash. It's still disgusting. It's still crime-ridden. It's insane. It's insanity. If you're in favor of giving these people more money, you're insane. You're a criminal. You're the problem in society. And again, you take a bike. You get on a bicycle. Not me. You get on a bike because you deserve to ride a bicycle in the city of New York. And honestly, ride a bicycle into somewhere else. Get on the sidewalk because you're human garbage, and I hate you, and I hate your family, and I will never forgive you for this. So yeah, this is going to be absolutely devastating in multiple different ways. We're going to hear all the propaganda about how everything is fine, everything is hunky-dory as prices go up on average everyday New Yorkers. And the one benefit that I did emphasize, which is the reduction in pollution in Lower Manhattan and all that is going to be real and tangible, but that's the only thing that they're going to talk about going forward. That's the only thing that they're going to focus on after the MTA is broke 6 months from now, because this didn't produce all the sunshine and rainbows that they wanted. So again, if you're in favor of this, you are an enemy of mine. You are my mortal enemy. I will come for you. We are at war. We will never be at peace ever again. And honestly, this is just the first step in a bunch of major cities across the country duplicating this, which is why, again, I'm so mad about this. Because you know what? I'm one of those people who have decided at this point in my life that any new type of tax I'm completely against. You know how conservatives will sometimes propose a national sales tax to replace the income tax? Now, while I could see the benefits of that, the fact of the matter is I've decided I'm 100% against it. And the reason why I'm 100% against it is because unless you have a constitutional amendment that gets rid of a tax mechanism for the federal government or for any government in order to replace it with a new one, all you're going to end up with is both taxes. We in New York have toll taxes, parking taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, all those different things that they say, oh, you're only having red states because they have no income tax. We have all of them, and I'm sick of it. Oh, and one more thing, one more stat to really emphasize how ridiculous this whole entire system is. The cameras that they put up in order to capture people's plates, the Easy Pass readers and whatnot, apparently those cost $500 million. $500 million just to build the infrastructure in order to tag people, in order to tax them. Now, I haven't looked up and done the math on whether or not this is a normal cost for this type of program in any part of the world, but the fact of the matter is, it's the city of New York, it's the MTA, so I know for a fact, without looking it up, that that's way too much money, but they don't care. They don't give a damn about your money. They just want to hurt you, and all these stupid anti-car dorks that are on board for this, they are enemies of the country. They are the true enemy of our society. They are the super elite, the progressive activist class, and honestly, I wish them nothing but sadness throughout their whole lives. I hope that if they get an ice cream, the wind blows and it knocks it onto the ground, and then rats eat it. I'm that serious. I'm that mad about this, and you should be mad about this too, unless you don't live in New York or drive in the city of Manhattan, then probably you shouldn't care. But you know what? Get on board with me, because this could happen in a city near you. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Am I overreacting? And if you think that, by the way, don't even comment that nonsense, because I'll come for you. But am I reacting appropriately, or should I be even more mad? Those are the only acceptable comments, so write those down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me going after the congestion pricing and this anti-car mafia. Till next time.